Hello students, a very good morning to all of you and Assalamu alaikum. I hope you all are doing well and washing your hands frequently and wearing masks to save yourself and others from this pandemic. Let's begin our day with a new hope and a new spirit. As you know that our revision week is going on, so today we are going to revise chapter number 5 of geography, that is the land and agriculture in Pakistan and South Asia. As we've already read that Pakistan has a warm or very hot climate with a fairly little rainfall. There is just 60% of the country is land is dry or mountainous, and this is why we cannot grow crops over there. And the part of the land where there is water from the rain or from the irrigation, that has that kind of soil that needs large amounts of fertilizers to grow crops. Here in this picture you can see how the land is divided into Pakistan. There is 5% of the land is of forests. 16% of the land is consisted of wasteland. Only 37% of the land is irrigated, that can be used in the agricultural fields and to grow the crops. And 42% of the land is either of mountains, or either consisting of mountains or of deserts. Now coming towards the irrigation system of Pakistan. We know that Pakistan is a dry country and the rainfall is not enough to support the good agriculture system. So to irrigate the land, water is being used from the Indus River, and 3/4 of the farmland has to be irrigated to get good crops. In the past, the water which used to come from the mountains when the snow melted from in the north areas, it caused floods, and so many homes would destroyed, and so many people were drowned. But today, to save the water and to stop it from causing the floods, huge dams have been built across the deep valleys in the north. This water can later be used to irrigate the crops. Now, when it is needed, the water is released from the dams to the rivers and into the main canals, and then after that, smaller canals, and finally into the ditches where there are fields. Now, the water from the Indus River is distributed in the Punjab and Sindh according to the agricultural needs. Another resource of getting water from the underground is shallow wells. This water from the underground is supplied to the surface through Persian wheels. And how is it work is there are clay pots that are fastened to a belt which is powered by oxen, which is walking in a circle. In more of the areas in Pakistan, in the villages, there are tube wells through which the water is brought up to the surface from 200 meters or more below. This water is drilled up by machinery because the more of the wells are getting dried up. So machinery is used to pump out the water, and this is the reason government is trying to bring electricity to all of the villages. If we talk about the forests, we all know that less than 5% of the Pakistan's land is consisting of forest. In the past, much of the country was covered in with the trees, but now the trees have been cut off. Most of the trees have been cut off because of the need of the firewood and to make the buildings. The important kind of forests which are in north today nowadays, that are having big pines, cedars and oaks. Other forests are consisting of smaller trees which are used in the villages for the firewoods. The timber from these trees is used in buildings, paper making, furniture, and other sports equipment such as cricket bats and hockey sticks. In the past, Pakistan had to import more than rupees 300 million worth of wood for the building and industry in 2005. Cutting of trees is a major problem in Pakistan, especially in the northern areas, because when it rains over there, the roots of the trees help the soil to stick together, and um, the rain does not directly goes to the soil because of the leaves of the trees, and this is how the soil remains fertile. There is a very great step taken by the government of Pakistan to plant new trees and new forests. The deserts and the mountainous areas in Pakistan consisting of 42% of the total land. But these land areas cannot be used for farming or for agriculture. The reason being is the climate here is either too cold in winters and too hot in summer, and it's too dry throughout the year. But in the Thal Desert of Pakistan or of the Punjab, the government is trying to make the desert irrigated and turn it into a usable farmland. But this procedure is very expensive, as much of the different kind of machinery and tools are used for this purpose. Now, if we talk about the waste and scrubland, it has 16% of the area covered in Pakistan. This waste or scrubland has poor or very poor soil or very little rain, but it grows some rough kind of grass which is used by the wanderers who wander with their herds of goats and sheep and who lives on the poor vegetation. These wanderers are not allowed to wander into the agricultural areas with their flocks of herds and goats. But there is one advantage, that these sheep are having the wool. So this wool is excellent for making the carpets. Now, if we talk about the farmland of Pakistan that is used for growing the crops, we already have read that it is consisted of 37% of the total land. Agriculture is the main occupation in Pakistan, and about 85% of the total value of Pakistan exports is consisting of the raw material which is collected from the agricultural products such as clothing, toweling, rugs, footwear, and sports equipment, which can be gotten by the cotton, rice, and fruit or goods. So all these things, raw materials and the goods made from them, they help in Pakistan's exports. Agriculture is the main occupation for the most of the people in Pakistan, and so many people, you can say 2/3 of the population lives in the countryside and is employed in agriculture. If we talk about our neighbor country, that is India, it is also mainly an agricultural country. The western part of India is dry and hot, but the western coast of Indian Peninsula is very hilly. This area is known as Western Ghats, and this area receives a heavy rainfall during the monsoon. Because of that, it has so many forests. The northern and eastern parts of the Indian Himalayan foothills are covered by so many monsoon forests. The famous rivers over there are Ganges and Yamuna, which are used for the agricultural land. and for the irrigation of the crops. There is just a Deccan Plateau, and to the north to the south, it has a very hot or dry climate and poor soil. Talking about the main cash crops in India, so these are rice, wheat, cotton, sugarcane, jute, and tea. Other than that, oil seeds are also grown here. Tea and coffee in the south, and barley, millet, and pulses are also cultivated here for the local use. There are so many coconuts in the large quantity in the coastal areas of India. The land chart you can see over here shows how the land is divided into the India. Talking about the Bangladesh, this area is also naturally heavily forested and is a good source for timber and growing tea. The lower part is consisting of deltaic area, and so many rivers flow through the Bay of Bengal, such as Ganges, Padma, Meghna, and Karnataka. The climate over here is hot and humid, and the crops like rice and jute are grown over here in a very large quantity. But there is a disadvantage of this area, that it is prone to the natural disasters just like floods, which causes so much damage to the farmland, crops, and the people's life and property. Now, talking about the Nepal and Bhutan, these two countries are having a large quantity of timber, and the main occupation for both of these countries is the agriculture. These countries having the Himalayan range at an average height of 2,000 to 3,000 meters above the sea level. The Nepal is having the world's highest mountain, that is the Mount Everest, and so many highest peaks. This is why this is a popular destination for the mountaineers and tourists. Sri Lanka is a pear-shaped island that lies off the southeastern coast of Indian Peninsula. This area is also having a hot and humid climate, but a very heavy rainfall. The main cash crops of Sri Lanka are tea, rubber, and coconuts are also planted into the coastal areas. Rice is also grown over here in the low-lying areas. But in 2004, Sri Lanka was severely affected by a tsunami in Indian Ocean. That caused a huge damage to most of the coastal areas, and so many lives were lost. Now, talking about the Maldives, that is located in the Indian Ocean. This area comprises of about 1,200 coral islands, out of which only 199 are inhabited. Maldives is the smallest independent country in Asia, with the capital named as Malé, and it is the lowest country in the world. The average height of it is just 1.5 meters, and its highest point is just 2.3 meters above the sea level. The people who are living over here, they say that, and they fear that the global warming and the rising sea levels are sinking their country. So students, I hope that all these informations are revised again in your minds. Don't forget to revise the question answers of this chapter, and keep washing your hands frequently. With a prayer that Allah keeps us all safe and healthy, I would like to say goodbye now. Take a lot of care of yourselves and the people around you. Allah Hafiz.